My beloved child, before you hear what I'm about to reveal, breathe for a moment, because everything you thought was genuine, everything you believed was safe, is about to shift. There is someone around you who has mastered the art of emotional illusions, someone who knows exactly which words melt your heart and which silences break it. They aren't showing their truth, they're showing a character. And even though you've sensed something off, those mixed signals, those delays in replies, that sudden warmth followed by cold distance, you kept giving them the benefit of the doubt. But the truth is far deeper, far sharper. Their kindness is calculated, their softness is timed, and their attention comes only when they need something from you. You've been feeling drained without knowing why, and that's because the connection doesn't feed you, it feeds them. Something big is unfolding behind your back, and the signs you've been ignoring are about to line up in a way you can no longer dismiss. Yet the strangest part is this: they act like no one understands them except you. They pull you close emotionally but keep a physical, mental, and spiritual wall that you can never cross. And the reason is simple: they want your loyalty, not your clarity. They want your heart, not your questions. They want your presence, not your expectations. Every time you try to talk about your feelings, they suddenly become distant, confused, or unavailable. Because real conversations threaten their control. They pretend to care deeply, but if you pay attention, they only care conveniently. You're giving pure energy to someone who gives recycled effort in return. You're offering emotional honesty to someone offering emotional performance. Behind their gentle smiles and charming words lies a truth they hope you never discover. They are fooling you emotionally, not because they don't understand your worth, but because they fear losing the comfort you provide. And nothing scares them more than you waking up to reality. But now listen carefully, because this is the moment everything changes. Their actual intention isn't love, it's leverage. They lean on your empathy because it's easier than standing on their own integrity. They keep you emotionally confused so you don't see how they benefit from your presence. They know your heart is sincere, and sincere hearts are powerful, but also vulnerable. That vulnerability is what they take advantage of. They set up situations where you feel guilty for things you didn't do, responsible for emotions you didn't cause, and afraid of losing a connection that barely exists in the first place. You've been carrying emotional weight that was never yours, and they have been watching quietly, knowing you would never complain. But something inside you is waking up now. An instinct, a fire, a truth that refuses to stay buried. And once you see their real intention, their entire facade cracks. That crack begins now. My cherished soul, something powerful is shifting around you, and before I reveal it, steady your heart, because the truth is arriving like a sudden lightning bolt. The person you've been trusting, the one who acts so gentle, so broken, so misunderstood, has been weaving a story to keep you emotionally tied to them. They know exactly how to appear vulnerable at the perfect moment, how to send that one message that pulls you back, how to sound hurt just enough to make you drop everything for them. But this isn't coincidence. This is choreography. Every gesture is a move on their emotional chessboard. They've learned that you respond to pain, compassion, and loyalty, so they use those very things to keep you close. But deep inside, they carry intentions that are nothing like what they show on the surface. And whether you realize it or not, your intuition has already warned you multiple times. You've felt that strange emptiness after talking to them, that quiet heaviness in your chest, wondering why their presence leaves you unsettled even when they're being sweet. That's not imagination, that's your soul recognizing a mask. But the part they never expected is this: you are starting to see through them. Their inconsistencies no longer look like stress, you see the pattern. Their excuses no longer feel accidental, you hear the repetition. Their sweet words no longer feel sincere, you sense the hollowness. And now the layer they've been hiding behind is beginning to crumble. The truth is, they want your emotional availability without offering emotional accountability. They want your understanding without giving transparency. They want your comfort without giving commitment. You've been treated like a backup light they turn on when their world feels dark. And the moment they feel fine again, they dim you down as if you never mattered. This cycle has repeated so many times that your heart is exhausted, but your mind is awake now. You are realizing that anyone who truly values you does not make you doubt yourself this deeply. Before I reveal their real intention, listen closely. They keep you emotionally confused because clarity would set you free. They avoid answering direct questions because honesty would make you walk away. They hold back commitment because they know once you fully know them, you'll understand you deserve far better. Their goal hasn't been to love you, it's been to keep you emotionally available in case they ever need you again. You became their safety net, their emotional insurance. And that's why they never let you completely go, but never fully choose you either. This revelation is the turning point of your story. And if this message has reached you today, it's because your soul is finally ready to break the spell they cast over your heart. My awakened heart, what I'm about to reveal will connect every missing piece you've been struggling to understand. The person you've been giving your time, your effort, and your emotional honesty to has been operating from a place of deep self-interest. They read your kindness like a map. They study your silence like a mirror. They know exactly what you feel even when you don't say a word, and instead of protecting that sensitivity, they use it to hold control. The truth is, they never wanted to lose you, but they also never wanted to give you the position you deserved. So they created an illusion of almost committed, almost honest, almost ready. They kept you waiting on a future they never planned to build. They fed you just enough emotional warmth to keep you hoping, while keeping just enough distance to keep you unsure. And that uncertainty became their greatest weapon. Because when someone keeps you halfway, your heart fills the other half with imagination. That's what they relied on, your hope doing the heavy lifting for their empty actions. But now the illusion is cracking in places they can't hide anymore. Look at how they react when you pull back, even slightly. Their sudden sweetness isn't love, it's fear. Look at how they behave when you stop giving them constant reassurance. Their sudden interest isn't concern, it's insecurity. They only show effort when your absence threatens their comfort. This person has been trying to keep you emotionally orbiting around them, but they never expected you to develop clarity. They never imagined you would begin questioning their inconsistencies. They never thought you would notice how they vanish when you need support but reappear instantly when they need validation. This is not a bond built on love. It's a bond built on emotional dependency, their dependency on your energy. And whether you realize it or not, you have been the strength they secretly rely on while pretending to stand tall on their own. Now comes the most important truth of this part: their actual intention was never to build something real. They wanted to keep you emotionally available while they explored their options, soothed their insecurities, and fed their ego. They never intended to invest deeply because investment requires honesty, effort, and vulnerability, three things they were never truly willing to give. They only wanted the part of you that made them feel important, wanted, admired, and understood. But here is where everything shifts: you are starting to see their pattern from a distance, not from emotion. And once you see someone clearly, you can no longer be controlled by their half-commitments or mixed signals. This is the stage where your strength becomes undeniable, and their influence over your heart begins to fade, quietly but powerfully. My fearless soul, what comes next is the turning point you were never meant to miss. The person who has been keeping you emotionally tangled in their half-truths and selective affection has reached a stage where their tactics no longer work the way they used to. They feel you pulling away, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. And that quiet distance terrifies them more than any confrontation ever could. They were comfortable as long as you were uncertain, emotionally invested, and always available. But now, your energy has shifted. You're not giving your whole heart the way you once did. You're observing instead of absorbing. You're questioning instead of surrendering. And they can feel that change like a cold wind against their plans. Their entire emotional strategy depended on you not realizing how much power you actually hold, and now, that realization is awakening inside you. Watch closely how they behave now. When they sense your heart slipping out of their grasp, they try to recreate old patterns. The sudden sweetness, the unexpected attention, the emotional stories designed to pull you back into the cycle. But this time, it feels different. You're seeing the repetitions instead of the romance. Their words feel practiced. Their timing feels suspicious. Their emotions feel exaggerated. And the reason is simple: they're not reacting from love, they're reacting from fear. Fear of losing the emotional supply you've been giving them. Fear of facing their own emptiness without your presence filling the gaps. Fear of you recognizing your own worth and walking away with the strength you always had but never used against them. Their panic is not love, it's exposure. Because once someone loses their emotional hold on you, they lose the only power they ever had. Now hear the truth that completes this chapter: their actual intention wasn't just to fool you emotionally. It was to keep you from discovering the version of yourself that doesn't need them at all. The version of you that is strong, intuitive, clear, and capable of seeing through manipulation like glass. That version of you threatens everything they've built in this connection. And yet, that version is rising right now. Something inside you is breaking the spell, dissolving the confusion, and revealing the truth: you were never the weak one in this story. You were the anchor holding everything together. And once you withdraw your energy, their entire facade collapses. They counted on your heart, but they underestimated your awakening. My unstoppable light, now the story reaches the moment where everything hidden begins to surface. The person who has been emotionally fooling you is starting to lose control over the narrative they built around you. They can feel that you are no longer reacting the same way. Your silence is louder, your presence is calmer, and your intuition is sharper. And this shift inside you is something they never prepared for. They were used to you giving without hesitation, trusting without question, caring without boundaries. But now your spirit is stepping into a clarity so powerful that even their most practiced emotional tricks fail to pull you back. You are seeing their patterns in real time. How they only show affection when they sense distance, how they become unavailable when you seek depth, how they suddenly become confused whenever accountability is required. Their behaviors, once confusing, are now predictable. And the moment they become predictable, they lose their power. Deep down, they are realizing something they never expected: you were never the one who needed them the most, they were the one who needed you. They relied on your emotional generosity because they lacked emotional stability. They relied on your loyalty because they lacked genuine commitment. They relied on your softness because they lacked inner courage. And for the first time, they are noticing the shift: your energy is no longer wrapped around their needs. You aren't chasing reassurance. You aren't over-explaining your heart. You aren't bending yourself to fit into their inconsistent affection. You are finally choosing yourself quietly, gracefully, powerfully. That inner shift is shaking them, because it forces them to confront a truth they always avoided: without your presence, their emotional world becomes frighteningly empty. This fear is why they are suddenly being extra nice, extra attentive, extra dramatic. But you can feel the difference: this isn't love, it's desperation dressed as devotion. And now, my beloved, here is the final truth of this part. Their actual intention was never to love you in the way you deserved. Their intention was to keep you close enough to benefit from your warmth, but far enough to avoid responsibility. They wanted your heart without giving theirs. They wanted your time without offering consistency. They wanted your emotional support without giving emotional safety. But the script has flipped. You are awakening to a version of yourself that refuses half-hearted attachment and emotionally manipulative comfort. Your spirit is rising into a strength that makes their illusions transparent. And the moment you choose clarity over their confusion, your entire story transforms. The emotional hold they once had is fading, not because they changed, but because you finally see the truth they tried so hard to hide. My rising warrior, this is the moment where the truth you've been sensing finally stands in full clarity. The person who has been emotionally fooling you thought they could keep you in the same cycle forever, pulling you close when they felt insecure, pushing you away when you needed support, creating distance whenever you sought honesty, and returning with sudden affection whenever they feared losing control. But now, something inside you has shifted so profoundly that even they can feel it. You're no longer operating from emotion, you're operating from awareness. And awareness is their biggest fear. You're beginning to understand that their attention wasn't love, it was convenience. Their vulnerability wasn't honesty, it was a tactic. Their affection wasn't commitment, it was a temporary fix for their own emptiness. And now that you've stopped feeding their emotional dependence, everything they hid from you is becoming painfully clear. They never expected you to outgrow the version of yourself who tolerated their inconsistency. But you did. Silently. Powerfully. Unapologetically. You may notice now how they suddenly begin acting confused, hurt, or lost, but not because they truly feel those things. It's because the script they relied on no longer affects you. Your heart isn't responding the way it used to. Your spirit isn't bending the way it once did. They are trying to trigger emotions in you that have already healed. They're trying to reopen emotional wounds that you've already closed. They're trying to reactivate the guilt that once kept you tied to them. But this time, their words feel empty, their actions feel misplaced, and their intentions feel exposed. They can sense that you've grown into a version of yourself who no longer accepts partial love, delayed answers, vague promises, or emotional crumbs. You're no longer impressed by their sudden sweetness because you recognize it for what it is. A performance meant to regain control, not restore connection. And that scares them more than anything. Because the moment someone cannot influence your emotions, they lose the power they once held over your life. And now, my beloved, the deeper truth unfolds. Their actual intention was to keep you emotionally dependent while they stayed emotionally detached. They wanted your devotion without giving definition. They wanted your effort without offering clarity. They wanted you to feel lucky to have their attention, even though they never truly earned your heart. They wanted you to second-guess your worth so you would never realize you deserve more than their instability. But the story has changed, not because they evolved, but because you did. You've outgrown the emotional shadows they used to hide behind. Your intuition is louder, your boundaries are stronger, and your clarity is unshakable. What once confused you now reveals itself effortlessly. What once hurt you now teaches you. What once controlled you now empowers you. And this final shift is the one they never wanted to happen. You are no longer emotionally available for manipulation, you are emotionally aligned with truth. Their illusion is collapsing, their tactics are failing, and their influence is fading. Because the moment you choose your worth over their games, their entire emotional power vanishes like smoke. My unbreakable spirit, this is the chapter where everything hidden becomes undeniable. The person who has been emotionally fooling you believed they could keep their mask forever, that you would stay blinded by your love, your patience, your loyalty. But they underestimated the power of a heart that finally reaches its limit. They thought you would never question why their words and actions don't match, why their promises evaporate the moment you need them to be real, why their affection shows up only when they fear losing you. They assumed your empathy would keep you silent, that your caring nature would keep you trapped in their emotional maze. But now, your soul is stepping into a clarity so sharp that even their sweetest lies cannot survive its light. You're no longer seeing them from the eyes of hope. You're seeing them from the eyes of truth. And truth always exposes intentions, no matter how deeply hidden they are. Look at the shift happening inside you now. You're not begging for their attention. You're not trying to decode their mixed signals. You're not chasing their validation like before. Instead, you're observing with a calm strength they never saw coming. Their sudden emotional check-ins, their unexpected messages, their forced vulnerability, they feel scripted to you now. You can sense that they're not trying to rebuild a connection, they're trying to rebuild control. But what they don't realize is that you've stepped out of their emotional playground entirely. You're noticing how they react to your silence, how your lack of dependence unsettles them, how your confidence threatens the dynamics they created. They expected you to crumble without their approval, but instead, you're rising without their presence. This rise is shaking them, because it forces them to confront the truth they avoided. You were the source of stability, love, and emotional grounding, not them. And now comes the truth that completes everything. Their actual intention was never to love you deeply, it was to keep you emotionally accessible while they stayed emotionally unavailable. They wanted the comfort of your loyalty without offering commitment. They wanted the glow of your care without giving effort. They wanted the reassurance of your presence without giving you the security you deserved. But now, that version of you no longer exists. You have outgrown the emotional limitations they tried to place on you. You've stepped into a version of yourself that recognizes manipulation instantly, that refuses to settle for confusion, that walks away from half-love with full confidence. This transformation is powerful. It's the one thing they never wanted, because it frees you completely from their influence. And now, as you stand in this clarity, their emotional hold dissolves. You are no longer tied to their patterns, their cycles, or their intentions. You are stepping into your truth, and in that truth, you rise beyond everything they tried to hide from you. My ascending soul, this is the moment where the final pieces of truth settle into place, revealing the full picture you were never meant to see. The person who emotionally fooled you believed they could keep you suspended in uncertainty forever, caught between hope and disappointment, between closeness and distance, between what they said and what they actually did. They relied on that confusion because it kept you emotionally tied to them. But now, the fog has lifted, and your clarity is exposing every hidden motive they tried to bury beneath sweetness, apology, and charm. You're recognizing how they would disappear when you needed reassurance, yet appear instantly when they needed attention. You're realizing how they claimed to be overwhelmed, but always had energy for others. You're seeing how they spoke about honesty, yet hid their true intentions behind carefully crafted excuses. And this revelation is powerful, because once you see the truth, the emotional trap loses its grip. What's happening inside you now is extraordinary. You're reclaiming your power in ways they never expected. Their sudden warmth feels artificial now, their emotional stories feel repetitive, and their charm feels recycled. You aren't reacting from love or fear anymore, you're responding from understanding. And understanding changes everything. They can sense that they no longer occupy the same space in your heart. You're not waiting for their messages. You're not replaying their words. You're not searching for signs that they care. You've shifted into an inner strength that refuses to be impressed by their bare minimum effort. And this shift is shaking them deeply. Because the version of you they manipulated was soft, loyal, hopeful, but the version standing here now is discerning, grounded, and impossible to deceive. Your silence is making them restless, your independence is making them nervous, and your emotional strength is revealing the weakness they always tried to hide. And now, here is the final truth of this chapter, the truth they never wanted you to uncover. Their actual intention was to keep you deeply attached while they remained safely detached. They never planned to invest in your heart the way you invested in theirs. They never intended to match your sincerity, your depth, or your consistency. What they wanted was the emotional security you offered, without giving you the emotional stability you deserved. They wanted the warmth of your presence without sharing the weight of commitment. They wanted the glow of your love without giving you a place in their life. But now, everything has changed. You've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer confuses attention with affection, effort with manipulation, or presence with love. You see them clearly, and in that clarity, their influence dissolves. Their emotional power has faded, their shadow has lifted, and their hold is gone. Because you finally understand the truth, and the truth has set you free.